Hi, I'm Dave Wager, coming to you from Relate365.com with studios here at Silver Birch Ranch and Nick Lake Bible Institute. A lot of times in our lives we don't understand what happens with the hours of input that we put into our minds. They create really who we are down the road. It's kind of a subconscious kind of thing. But what we have to realize is that whatever our mind percolates in, whatever it thinks of all the time, and it begins to cause us to struggle in areas that we shouldn't be struggling. We want to clean up our lives, but we continue to make the brew, if you want to call it, stronger and stronger. In front of me here, I have a couple different pour-overs I'm going to do. One is coffee. Love my coffee in the morning. I'm a Swedish guy. I like to have a nice, strong cup of coffee. And what's going to happen is I'm going to take water that has been heated, pour it over the grounds, and the water will exchange properties because it's going to go through the grounds, and it can't go through the grounds and stay the same. In this other cup, I happen to put some horse manure. And once again, it's the same process. Put water in it, filters out all the solids, and we'll get a nice clear drink, if you want to call it that. So let me do this. We'll start here, we'll get it a little wet. Right here, get it so that it's nice and yeah, color's about the same. Now, if you lived in the wild, wild west, maybe you'd be served a cup of coffee. Maybe somebody's talking about cowboy coffee. These look very similar. The difference is one was put through clean coffee grounds that were made to be brewed for a good cup of coffee. The other, it got put through dirt. Now let's say that in my life I continued without any change to do the things and take in the inputs that are not good for me. What's going to happen is the brew is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger and more toxic and more toxic and more toxic. What's going to happen is the brew is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger and more toxic and more toxic and more toxic. And change will become harder and harder. You see, once you go through this, once you put this in your mind, think of our nation and the violence it's putting in its mind, the pornography it's putting in its mind, the objectification of women it's putting in its mind, the racism it's putting in its mind. Think of all the things that are percolating hour by hour, and then think of how much time people actually spend in God's Word, listening to God, fellowshipping with other believers, and talking about things where they're concerned about building one another up and doing what's right. If we continue to put garbage into our lives and percolate the pure lives that God gave us through that garbage, we don't get a very good product. If we continue to put garbage into our lives and percolate the pure lives that God gave us through that garbage, we don't get a very good product. It gets stronger and more bitter, and for many people that's what life is like right now. Life seems to be stronger than they are. It seems to be bitter. Yet they keep filtering it through this. They keep saying, well, maybe if I put a little bit more in, maybe that'll give it to me. Maybe a little bit more. Over here, you end up with a good cup of coffee. You take time to think about what is right. You meditate on things that are right. You read God's Word. You understand what He says. And what you do is you exchange an empty life, like water, with one that is robust with flavor, one that you can enjoy, one that adds to the quality of your life. Or you take the same life, the same water, and you put it through horse manure. On the outside, it might look the same. But inside, the taste, the bitterness, the anger is there. If you're not satisfied with the product that's in your cup, then you don't need to change the water. You need to change what you're filtering. If you're not satisfied with the product that's in your cup, then you don't need to change the water. You need to change what you're filtering. This is Dave Wager with Relate365.com.